This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Baker's worth it every time. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Jewelry can say many things on your wedding day. As a wedding band, it can say, "This is a forever symbol of our forever love." As a gift to your wedding party, it can say, "Thanks for standing up there with us." Blue Nile can help you find the piece that says it all and says it beautifully, with expert guidance and a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Go to BlueNile.com and experience the convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999. That's BlueNile.com.
Welcome back, Ram fans. This is Rams Up, your favorite LA Rams podcast. We are proud members of the Fans First Sports Network. That's fansfirstsports.com. You can also follow us on YouTube. Our channel is at LA Rams Up. I'm your host, Mark. You'll hear from my co-host, Tom, on occasion as well. Hey, we're not Rams insiders. We're just longtime fans who love talking about our Los Angeles Rams. Let's get to it. Hey everybody, Mark from Rams Up here, back here with another roundtable with Paul and Ian. What's going on, Ian?
Hey, doing good, gents. I mean, we're just enjoying this time off. The summer is cooking. The heat is up wherever you may be. I know in LA it's been getting kind of hot. And like I said, the last time we got together, that means football season's around the corner, babies. And I'm excited for sure.
Yeah, I can almost smell it. What's going on, Paul?
Oh, everything's doing well. The weather is beautiful and all about friends in Ramley.
Is Long Island like the only place in the country, maybe Long Island and the San Diego coast down here, the only places in the country where it's not sizzling maybe?
Oh, it's cooking out here.
Is it?
It's really,
wow.
Yeah, it's getting up there. We get a little bit of relief every now and then with a couple of drizzles, but other than that, it's baking.
Yeah, this weather's been crazy. So we got a lot of things to talk about, a lot of little things been happening, and we are going to talk about something a little more serious at the end here. We'll save that for last. Please stick around for that. But the first thing I wanted to talk about, we talked a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago maybe, about the moving parts of this Rams secondary. Who's going to be the starting safety? Who's going to start at the star position? Is Trey White going to be ready to go? What's going to happen with Durant and Yeast and Darion Kendrick? And now they bring John Johnson back, which is great news. But man, what do you think this means for the Rams secondary, Ian?
Well, I'm glad John Johnson wants to be back. I'm pretty sure he's been on multiple podcasts talking about how he wants to stay with the Rams for as long as possible, and he was true to his word. Now, with that, look, players always can say those things. They want to come back to their favorite team or their favorite coach and play with their favorite teammates. But, money doesn't work out. Maybe the team doesn't want them back. So I assume this is a vet minimum, another vet minimum contract. I mean, based on the numbers not being shared, I want to say that's probably the case. And that's nice that John Johnson's okay with that. And he's someone who re-signed incredibly late last season, right deep in the training camp. And we're like, hey, that's pretty cool. Hey, we'll see where he's at once he gets into football shape. And eventually he did retake his starting safety job over Russ East, and he played some solid football for sure. No doubt about it. Had some good interceptions, good tackles, good coverage skills. And I think this signing either means one of three things. Number one, just depth and leadership, right? A young safety group. Curl's still young. Kitchens rookie. Russ East still young. Quentin Lake still young. And they want some, mentorship in that room outside of Chris Shula being the elder statesman, right, for that group, being the new defense coordinator. Number two, things aren't going so great in the starting safety group or the backup group. Obviously, we think Cameron Curl is going to be starting at strong safety. That is his strong suit, ironically, in the box, close to the line of scrimmage, hitting, tackling machine, and all that. Now, the other spot, is Quentin Lake doing a good job at the free safety, or is he better at that big nickel star position, which I thought he played really well last season? What is the right combination? Maybe that right combination has not, evolutionized in practice, where the Rams and Shula and McVay feel good about that. And maybe like, maybe we should bring John Johnson back. That might be an option. Or number two, Russ East, Cameron Kitchens, just them two by themselves aren't cutting it at this moment. So they're like, man, if Quentin Lake or Cam Curl goes down, we're in trouble, right? We need somebody to fill in and play some solid football at the bare minimum. So that might be the third option going into this. Either way, happy he's back. Great value signing. I still think he can play some solid football. Is it great? Is it Pro Bowl level? Of course not. It's not. The film doesn't lie. He wasn't at that level. But it's starting caliber, and anytime you get starting caliber on the cheap in this, hard cap league, I think that's pretty good. So that's my thoughts on that. What about you, my friends?
What do you say, Paul?
Yeah, I think familiarity and versatility. That was the motivation behind these two moves. I think the other thing also jumping right in to Lake. So I think, the issue with the star was the kid can definitely play the star. So I think the big issue for the coaching staff is they want him on the field all the time, right? So if the star's not on the field all the time, how do you get the kid on the field all the time? So I think this might be one of those scenarios that in maybe on third downs or obvious passing downs, Lake jumps down and then Johnson goes in. So that might be one scenario that you could be looking at, right? That could be something they could be playing around with. As good as Kitchens is as a prospect, we know the Rams' tendencies. They redshirt freshmen. That's what they do. So that could be the other possibility of it. And Ian sort of hinted at it. This puts them 3 deep, and not including Lake, 3 deep veteran-wise at safety. So that might be now, Kitchen will be the number 4. Lake, we know, is star/safety. So we're going to keep him out of that mix for a little bit. But if you think about it, now they're 4 deep at safety. Rams love interchangeable safety. That's how they play their safety role. Curl's dynamic at strong safety. There's no question about it. And it looks like the way they want to use him, that's the way they want to use him. Yeah. So, I think, that has been the theme for the Rams and all their moves thus far in the offseason, familiarity. They're familiar with the player. The player's familiar with the system. That's what they've been going through on the cheap too. Puts a lot of depth for the Rams at a position. Normally, we don't see them really stockpiling safeties like this. This is really like a sort of break from their MO, right? Yeah. So I think the other part of it is there's still a lot of moving parts in their secondary, right? They still haven't put that final jigsaw puzzle together because why? You got T-Money's still not healthy, right? So, that's another factor when he walks in. It's hard to put all the pieces together when all the pieces aren't available. So I think, corners are always tough. Corners are always tough to find.
Yeah, bottom line, he's a known quantity, right? They know what they're getting. And heck, why not? you have time to figure it out, bring him into camp. Why not? See how it sorts out. And they know what he brings to the table. He's of all the guys in it, they got a bunch. They got 18 defensive backs on their roster. I counted, and a lot of them are. We don't know. We don't know much about them. And John Johnson is one guy. I think we know a lot about him. And like Ian said, not Pro Bowl level, but pretty darn good still.
Yeah,
we know he's good for the locker room. That's the other part of it. He's good.
Oh, for sure. I mean, guys, he's part of the 2017 rookie class, McVay's first year. Very remarkable in a positive way that he's still here, a part of this great culture, and wants to be a part of it. I mean, it just speaks to McVay and how much he saved the Rams in a lot of ways, didn't he? And we're happy John Johnson still feels good about that. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the signing, for the cheap pay.
Hey, let's move on to the next topic, and it's always my favorite topic. Anytime we get a chance to talk about my favorite player, SJ39, Steven Jackson, and we'll just touch real briefly on his. He joined DeMarco Farr for that podcast, and Paul was saying it looked like he could step on the field tomorrow if he needed to. Man, he is such a beast. And they talked a little bit about his Hall of Fame prospects, and who knows? It's just a shame that he played on such crappy teams, to be quite frank, and it really hurts his chances. But man, he was so good. Paul, do you think he's got any shot at the Hall of Fame?
I mean, in my opinion, and I guess everybody in this room as well, I don't want to speak for everybody. I'm sure I know my brothers in the Rams Up family, the dude should be a lock. I mean, the fact that we're even talking about this, I mean, there's something very wrong about this system for the Hall of Fame, because how can you look at this guy's body of work and what he's done and the seasons he's put together? He was a model of consistency on a bad team. And I'll just give you like one great example. First of all, the interview, Ramley, if you haven't seen it, Ram Nation, you have to watch that interview with DeMarco Farr. So Steven Jackson makes DeMarco Farr look like he's a punter. I mean, Steven Jackson could not even fit in the chair. The dude is just massive. And as an aside, his son's a running back. Can you imagine being a running back and your dad, Steven Jackson? Hopefully
he's got some of those genetics in him, man.
Man. I hope Les Snead has circled his graduation date, so they can start preparing the draft for him. But they were showing their favorite plays, and there was one play they said it was against the Niners, and all 11 players, they just ignored the pass. It was like when Dickerson played. They ignored the pass, and they went into tackle Jackson, and he still fought forward for 4 yards at a first down to kill the clock, right? And DeMarco Farr picked that, not a breakaway 50-yard run or anything, just to show you that's Steven Jackson's career. That's exactly right. Him against 11 guys. And then they showed the others. Steven Jackson's favorite play was against the one against Seattle when he crashed into somebody at the 3 and he kept pushing, and Richie Incognito. And then Isaac Bruce, I forgot about that one. Isaac Bruce came flying over the top. Oh, man. I mean, that's what the Hall of Fame is about. It's about guys like this. It was guys like, and immediately popped into my head was Earl Campbell. Earl Campbell played on some, they were good teams. They weren't like over the top teams. Yeah. I mean, that dude absorbed so much abuse. But, obviously Earl Campbell's in the league on his own. That dude is the man. Talk about GOAT, right? But S. Jax is, he's a very, very, very special player. And, I'll be honest with you, when I talk about Ram running backs, he's up there. Top 3, top 4, no question about it, all time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What do you got to say, Ian?
The early days of watching Ram football for me were all Steven Jackson, truthfully. It's him. It's him from, guys, let's just put it into perspective. The Rams teams in St. Louis, it was the worst era of Rams football. I'm sorry. It was. The greatest show on turf was fantastic. There was a nice, 3-4 year window. There was a nice year with Mark Bolger, like once or twice, let's just be honest. And then after that, it was just really, really, really terrible football. And the only one, or one of the few guys who made Rams football enjoyable during that, St. Louis era was Steven Jackson running for 1,000 yards in 8 straight years on terrible football teams. It's incredible. I mean, guys, from 2005 to 2012, he had 1,000-yard rushing at least. Incredible. Just like you're talking about. Playing the Rams, it was like, they ain't going to pass the ball. They ain't a threat. Let's load the box, try to stop this monster, and teams couldn't do it. And I think that objectively should get you votes into the Hall of Fame, right? Because I know a lot of times it's like, oh, were you a winning player? Oh, what did you do to help your team win games? Did your play affect your team in a positive way? And yes, those things do matter. There's no doubt about it. But objectively, how could you watch Steven Jackson or Torrey Holt and think, hey, these guys aren't Hall of Fame level players? I don't know how you can think that objectively, Rams fan or not. And I know Steven says, hey, look, I try to block it out. Don't think about it. If it happens, it's going to be a party, right? Rightfully so. And if not, so be it. My life goes on. And that's obviously a good way of thinking about it for him personally. But I hope one day he gets in. That'd be fantastic. Just so the NFL fans, our own team, everybody can recognize what a great player he was. Because we see Hall of Famers get in that weren't necessarily winning players, but they were just kick-ass their entire playing career and got in. Why not for you, Steven Jackson? Why can't he be a player like that gets into the Hall? So
yeah, one of the most frustrating things. One of the most frustrating things I have done as a Rams fan is talk to random fans about Steven Jackson, and the lack of appreciation, the lack of awareness of what type of player he was is just really frustrating. And I will say another reflection of what kind of person he is. He just wants it to happen while his parents are still alive. He said it's not going to mean that much if his parents aren't there to celebrate with him. So hopefully it happens sooner rather than later.
And that's the type of statement that Steven Jackson would make. And that's why, for people to understand, he is the quintessential player when you talk about like character and intangibles, in addition to all his other achievements. The one factor I would say, if you looked at that, how many other players could have handled his situation the way he has handled it, right? With the quality of teams that he has played on, the product they put out there, never complained. And not just, talk about yards, but yards from scrimmage. He worked very hard to become a great blocker. He worked very hard to become a dual threat, was great out of the backfield. And people forget, he lost only 15 fumbles his entire career.
That's so crazy.
Bananas.
That's so crazy, dude.
It's like 160 games.
Oh,
it's bananas. So he's just like it's just unbelievable that people are still like, questioning him. And I think, Mark, to your point as well, is that the Rams have to do a better job of singing his praises and endorsing him and advocating for him and for Torrey Holt.
Yeah, that's go ahead, Ian.
No, I was saying for Torrey too. I mean, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, Torrey's my second favorite player, so I'm with you on that. And it goes back to what we were talking about before we started the show. The Rams, man, how great would a running back day at SoFi be? Bring all those guys together. Have Steven Jackson standing next to Marshall Faulk and Eric Dickerson and all these guys. And hey, let's segue into another running back we want to talk about.
Real quick,
Mark,
and everybody out there. I was like, wait a minute, I have a picture ago. Met him at the 2019 training camp, and to speak on the human, I mean, what a gracious man. He was very nice to talk with me and just talk BS about football and Madden, talking about the old Madden games I mentioned. Like, hey, bro, like I was a one-man wrecking crew in Madden with you, and then obviously you're a one-man wrecking crew in real life. And just talking nonsense and all that. But I don't know if anybody could see. It's going to be hard to see the picture. I'll have to share it next episode for sure. I have a picture of him, and he was a really gracious, friendly, and a true football junkie, and it was fun to talk to him. I'll have to share that picture next time we get together because it's not going to show up on the phone, unfortunately. Anyway, just wanted to share that real quick.
That doesn't surprise me at all, right? Yeah. That's what you'd expect of Steven Jackson. So let's segue right into another running back that was in the news a little bit. Todd Gurley, another Ram great, who helped get this franchise turned around. And he was on a podcast as well and shared some thoughts on his days with the Rams and how he left the Rams. Paul, what was your takeaway on that? You listened to the whole thing, right?
Yeah, that was like one of the first things before we logged on. Mark and I were talking about it, and I know Ian probably feels the same way. Listen, that was an ugly separation. We know that. We know everything that went down. Bad. But and I think Mark's always been a big Todd Gurley advocate, regardless of everything that's happened. So you got to shout out to Mark. But I love the video because there was one part, Ram Nation, that you have to watch this interview. It's actually really, really enlightening. Is that they asked TG30, they said, were you upset when the Rams won the Super Bowl? And he's, and I'm like, you're leading in. You're like, all right, what is he going to say? And he looked right at the camera. He said, dude, I threw on my Ram colors, blue, yellow, and white. He had a smile on his face, man. And it felt so good to hear that. He was like, I went down there. I was pulling for them. He's like, I wanted AD to get that ring, and you can, and I was like, in my head, I was like, man, dude, you should have just picked up the phone, called whoever, your connections down there in the organization. They say, listen, I'm coming down. Let's go sit in the box. Yeah. Let's go enjoy this game because you know what? That's what it's all about. Listen, Mark made a really good point, Ram Nation, in the beginning of the segment before we logged on. He said, listen, he was the driving force that got the ball rolling for the Rams. And it's absolutely right. And if that knee situation, Gurley would have put up some sick numbers. And so that's what really stood out for me was his positive sort of take on everything that happened, which is really, really nice to hear. The other thing that really stood out for me, which sort of irritated me, because if it's true, I'm really irritated, was that he said, I was ready to go for that Super Bowl against the Patriots. It was McVay who didn't play me.
Of course.
He said, I was ready to go. And he was like, he said at one point, he just threw his hands up. He was like, I don't know why I'm on the bench. And he was like watching the clock run. So, we don't know what really happened. But that was a tough situation to be in any case. But that'll be interesting when more details come out about that. But Gurley, he is a major component of this franchise, particularly the early part of the McVay era, I should say. He was the engine that drove that machine. Like Goff should be sending like a certain percentage of his paycheck to Gurley because that play action situation was all on Gurley, man. Right? He opened up those throwing lanes for Goff and those passes downfield. So it's really not, just in sum, it's really nice to see that Gurley had a nice takeaway on the situation with the Rams, and it would be great to see him, back on the sideline with the Rams in some capacity, rooting with his teammates. So he's Ramley forever, baby. Dude is a beast.
Do you catch any of that, Ian?
Yes, I watched the whole thing. Shout out to former Ram Deshaun Jackson, even though that ended kind of crappy too. And Shetty McCoy, one of the best running backs of this newer generation, no doubt about it. That guy was crazy too. It just makes me kind of sad because dang it, what could have been, right, gentlemen? I mean, we talk about Jackson being a Hall of Famer. I mean, if Gurley's knee situation didn't pop up, I mean, he'd still be playing in the league because, guys, Gurley was another special running back, and there's no doubt about his talents and what he would have continued to do if he were still playing. I mean, there's always every now and then a fun little post you'll see from, NFL accounts, whether it be the NFL themselves and or other fan accounts or other professional football, pro football accounts where, they showcase Todd Gurley's yards and stats are still in the top 10, and he's been out of the league for quite some time now. And that's what's insane about it. For him to be that productive in that, short amount of time that he played in, in relative to, pro football years for a top player, I mean, the sky was the limit with him. And that's why I get a little sad. I'm like, dang it, dude.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Think you know the Brooks Ghost? Think again. Introducing the all-new, better-than-ever Ghost 16. Now with nitrogen-infused cushioning for lightweight, supreme softness that feels good every step, every street, every single day. So go ahead, take your daily joyride in the all-new nitrogen-infused Ghost 16. It'll turn your everyday miles into everyday endorphins. Let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Yeah, and I can, before we move on, I can point to a moment in time where I knew McVay and the Rams had arrived, and I don't know if you remember this. I'm going to get some of the facts wrong. It was at Dallas. They were losing late in the second quarter. Emmitt Smith was on the sideline taking his jersey off, taking a breather, and Jared Goff hit Gurley on a little catch and run slant, I guess you'd call it, for like a 50-yard touchdown. And the Rams came back and won that game. And that's when I knew, I think the Rams were like, they're maybe 2-3, 3-2 at the time. And that was the moment. That was the moment I knew that McVay had something going on, and Todd Gurley for sure.
Yeah, and I like that he was very gracious about, hey man, like football was not going to scoring touchdowns was not going to satisfy me anymore, and all the yards. And I truthfully feel like, hey, look, I don't know the guy, I haven't met him. Everyone says great things about him. It kind of feels like to me that, you know, that's the positive way of thinking about, man, if my health was okay, I'd still be kicking ass. Because it wasn't, I was never going to be satisfied. You know, I think that was probably just a positive way of saying like, hey, you want me to dwell on my knee and my health? No, you know, I think that was a positive deterrent, if you would like to say, when he made that comment to me personally. And
yeah, give him credit.
Gosh, dang it. I thought I was like, dang it, man. It's just one of the biggest what ifs. Everyone talks about Bo Jackson. Everyone talks about other players, what ifs, right? Like, what if this happened? What if this did? What if this guy didn't have this injury? Gurley is in that top 3 of what ifs, you know, for players with injuries and deteriorating knees and all that. But I'm glad he came to the bowl. I'm glad he's happy for his Rams homies, right? AD, all that. But, you know, and if we lived in the alternate timeline where Gurley's knees were still good and his health was not an issue, no doubt about it, Goff doesn't get traded. No doubt about it, we win that 2018 Super Bowl. And there's no Matthew Stafford. There's no a lot of stuff happening. So, hey, you know, the timeline we live in ended up being pretty fun. But I wish Gurley was a part of it. And salute to you. You're a Rams legend. And I still see plenty of number 30 jerseys around town. You know, Gurley's impact on LA football being, you know, reborn in a positive light. He's the number one. Him and Aaron Donald were the number one reasons why that happened, outside of Coach McVay as well. And tip my cat to Mr. Gurley. And I'm glad he likes LA and stays out here. So maybe
that was evident as well. Yeah. That's always nice to hear. I think I said Emmitt Smith. I meant Zeke.
Yeah, I know.
Zeke
Yeah,
Elliott.
I know.
They're kind of the same guy, aren't they?
Feels that way. Good player, but O-line elevated him. Oh, did I say that out loud? Whoops, my bad.
Oh, did you say that about Emmitt Smith? We're going to get some comments. Holy cow.
Come on. We cannot deny the Great Wall of Dallas objectively. That's one of the best,
Yeah, what would Steven Jackson have what would Steven Jackson done behind that line?
And
Steven Jackson could have played center on most O-line. Did you see that dude, man?
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude!
I mean,
what did he play at 245?
He said he said 240 something. Yeah.
Yeah, he said he played at 245.
Guys, Gurley, Jackson. If Falk's injury stuff wasn't popping up, if Dickerson played behind better O-lines, McCutcheon,
Jerome Bettis.
I mean. Rams running backs are legit. Hopefully Kyron and Blake Corum can be the next wave we're hoping for, right? But I mean, we've been fortunate. Rams running backs just kick ass no matter the era. Happy about that.
Hey, let's talk a little bit more about the Behind the Grind episode 3. We touched on it a couple of weeks ago. I think Paul and I did a little bit.
Yeah.
But you guys wanted to revisit it. There's like 4 topics that kind of come to mind.
Yeah.
Ian, is there something you wanted to touch on, especially regarding that episode?
Yeah, Behind the Grind, fantastic. It's our own personal hard knocks, like I like to call it, and it's so dang good. And with this episode, I really like the highlights of Kobe Turner and the music. I mean, obviously, if anyone who doesn't know, if I haven't mentioned this already in the pod, I think I have. I'm a big music guy. I play professionally in an orchestra. Got the violin tattooed on the forearm, as if you can see a little bit. So music's pretty serious in my household as well. And I didn't know that Kobe, was a choir man. I know he could sing. I obviously had saw prior to this episode that he had sung the national anthem for the Laker game. That was pretty cool to see that behind the scenes and see the rehearsal and all that. And Puka Nacua being a true Rams homie for him, cheering him on from the crowd. As he sung the national anthem. But I did not know that he was professionally trained in choir singing at his time at multiple universities. And that was great to see. Great to see how that work ethic has translated to professional football for him to be a kick-ass player. And that was just fantastic to see. And gosh, I'm another Rams draft pick that was made to be a Ram, it feels like, fits the culture, is elevating the culture, it feels like. And someone who you can root for, a young player that you hope stays a Ram for a very long time. And Kobe Turner, man, what should have been Defensive Rookie of the Year, dang it. I know a lot of people who believe that are professionals as well. And golly, I think that was just fun to watch and see him just see the other side of players that you don't usually get to see. And I'm glad our version of Hard Knocks, Behind the Grind, was able to do that for Kobe Turner. And gosh, I'm happy he's a Ram.
What was your favorite part of that episode, Paul?
Well, first it was shout out Ian, strings and rings, baby. That's the Rams right now, right?
Yep.
Strings and rings, baby. Right? Violins and rings. So this was such a great episode because I had to actually look at the clock. I was like, how did they squeeze so much into this one episode in comparison to some of the other episodes? There was a lot in this. And I just thought it was a great episode. And the first thing that jumped out at me was with Kobe Turner was I'm a big John Wooden fan, and John Wooden always talked about that that concept of peace of mind, and he said the peace of mind comes from a player knowing one's ability and knowing one's character, knowing who you are as a person. We had talked about that, the importance of this sort of the Rams culture and holistically developing. So that sort of really jumped out at me because, Wooden said you had to be a great individual first, then you could be a great team player. And this concept of sort of like what Ian was saying with the extracurricular when you're in school and, to you young Ramley members out there, do the extracurriculars, man. That's the part that's going to help you evolve, right? Mm. And when you watch that, so did you see how quickly he was able to fit into that a cappella group? Do you see? Just like instantaneously. That's the skills that we're talking about as these players are evolving beyond football, because it comes back to impacting their ability to play football. The confidence level, you could just see his temperament, right? He's calm. He's so cerebral when he was talking to them, right? It was just so, for me, I just picked up on it right away. So you can just see that in this particular episode, there was a common thread that I saw in all these little snippets that they were showing. And that was all about relating to others. Why, creating these relationships that McVay was talking about. And that, remember when he and AD were skipping off the field last year? Think about that, right? Think about that. So this sort of theme of players helping other players on the Rams was in every component of this episode. So you saw it in that aspect of it. Then you saw it when when they showed the clip of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nails, right? They said we call him Coach Kupp, and he's passing along all this knowledge to Puka. So let's stop and put that into perspective for a minute. He's passing that information off to a second-year wide receiver that's probably right now in a lot of people's mind taking Coop's job, right? Theoretically, right? Think about that. So think about what type of person you have to be open to that. And that's exactly what we're talking about, right? So when you saw that and, Cooper's ability just to explain certain nuances of what was going on, explaining it to these young receivers, to Puka. Mm-hmm. And remember, we saw our boy from Texas, right? Jordan said the same thing, right? He said, I want to just hang around Coach Kupp. And I just wanted to soak everything in. So I just thought that was awesome. And I love the whole running back room, man.
That was fantastic too.
Coach G, you are a straight OG, man. That was awesome. The dinner with the running backs, building those relationships. And I love when they showed Iron Kyren and how cerebral he was when he asked him a question and he looked up on the screen, he pointed some things out. I was like, he's gaining that football IQ, right? That's making Kyren so effective. And he said a couple of really important things. He says, see a little, see a lot. In the details, those small details that other people overlook, that's where your understanding of the game will grow. And that was Marshall Faulk. Marshall Faulk knew everything that was going on the field, every second of the game. What every player should be doing, Marshall knew. So I just thought that was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then, I think that's really important because I think the running game is really going to help put forward the Rams' personality. I think it's not going to come from their passing game. We know what that passing game is. That passing game is, deep strike, take big chunks of yardage. This running game, this is the body blows. These are the body blows. It's going to come from Iron Kyren, Blake the Great, Dog Rivers, right? Running Rivers. So this is where it's going to come from. And don't sleep on Scott. Don't sleep on him. I mean, whether it's in the kick return game or wherever. Yeah. I just love the whole running back room. I just love the way that unit is gelling and just the relationships that are being formed. And just like this whole concept of building relationships, I just thought it was a great theme. It's stuff that we've been talking about. We've been talking about the Puka minds, that we talk about the Puka power picks, the mentality that they're bringing to the table. I just thought it was a great segment in Ram Nation. You have to check it out if you haven't. It's a phenomenal segment.
Yeah, and shout out to Colby Parkinson too, returning back to the Thousand Oaks area, showing him talking to all the high school cats, talking about hard work, and it's good to get these LA natives back to the area. Sorry, Mark, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I thought that's important to show that too. Like, hey, we can get these former LA area guys, and I think that also helps the brand of Rams football reach the younger generation, which is what the Rams are hoping for. And I think Colby being back, I think, when Eric Weddle was here and, David Long, others, Shelton, other former LA guys, Greg Gaines being, a La Habra guy, I think it's good for Rams football, and especially guys that you see play on Sundays, which we expect Colby to jump into. And shout out to his dad being out there happy with the newborn, or not the newborn,
grandpa.
Grandpa there. On Family Day, McVay talking with everybody about Family Day. I mean, it's Rams football is in such a great space right now with Coach McVay leading the way. And I just think more illustration of that just on display, the culture, right? What people always throw that word around. What is the culture like? What is culture? It's, to me, real quick, I'll just share, because I know some people get kind of confused with that word. I know I've had this conversation with plenty of people. That to me, culture is a group of people how they interact together and what is their ultimate goal and how they work together to get to that goal. That's what culture is to me in terms of sports. And I think we have a great culture, as you can see, and everyone talks well. And Colby, continue the Rams culture, baby, in Thousand Oaks and beyond, because we need it. We need it. And that's why I say that.
And Colby, and that's a great point. And Colby had a great line that he gave to those kids. And, as coaches, right, all those coaches that are out there, that's a great line to steal. He said to the kids, to these high school kids, he says, don't confuse your role with your potential, right? Yeah. He says, just because your role on this team, and think it's from a guy who lived it. Right now, he signed that 3-year deal. He's going to get a little bit more burn with the Rams.
Oh, she got that starter money, man.
So he knows he's going to get a chance to throw up some fantasy numbers, right? Mm-hmm. So, and he said, whether you're second string or third string, that's your role. That doesn't mean that's your potential. He says, keep working, embrace your role, right? Be the best at your role, but keep working, get better. And that was such a great line, So just shout out to him for coming back, and who says you can't go home again?
Yeah, I'll close this part of the discussion. A couple of follow-ups. One, you talk about culture and you talk about players helping each other. How many times have we heard, well, I think there's a couple of quarterbacks that come to mind who said, it's not my job to coach these guys up. And you won't hear that from a Ram, right? And it doesn't have to be your job, right? It's like Ian said, it's part of your culture. You help your teammates, even if they're competing for your job. And the Colby Parkinson thing, I just thought it was really special. Obviously, just loving to be back in SoCal. That was a really cool takeaway for me. And obviously, being close to his parents and his extended family. I think he made a comment. He had 2 or 3 relatives up in the Seattle area, and he's got 30 or 40 down here. And that's a big deal. That's a really big deal for all of us, I think, to be close to home and close to family.
And shame on us for not shouting this out. What did Steven Jackson say? He said that first year I had Marshall Faulk. Yeah. DeMarco asked him, right? How was it tough on him? He said, no, I had Marshall. He said, any questions I had, I went right to him. So talk about there's your pattern of helping players out. Probably that impact on Steve Jackson. He recognized it, what an impact that had on his career. Can you imagine being around Marshall Faulk your rookie year and having that's like a luxury that you can't even put into words.
Yeah, and Marshall could have been bitter. That was when injuries were stacking up. The writing was on the wall that they were going to move on. Obviously, taking Steven and him, being featured more and more. That's just Rams culture, man. It's a good thing.
That carpet over concrete at the Jones Dome, man, just took away. You go down on that carpet over concrete at the Jones Dome.
I can't believe that was a thing for such a long time. It's just insane because I played on crappy field turf in my playing days, and that felt crappy to get slammed out or tackled on. I couldn't even imagine those when everyone was wearing shoes running on that that carpet concrete. Crazy. So King Kupp, I'm with you. We can get grass in for soccer events, right, for Copa America and other stuff, and World Cup, whenever that, ends up in LA. Why can't we get some grass for our players at SoFi? I know you got some cash, Gronky. Let's figure out a way to do it for our players.
Petty cash is what it is.
Yeah. NFLPA, mark it down, NFLPA.
I agree, yeah.
Next subject. Now, I'll try to lay the groundwork for this. I did not see the podcast, Cooper Kupp's podcast. I did read an article about it, and it was very interesting. He talked about the evolution of 11 personnel and how the way I understood it worked is they were running 2-minute offenses, third down, second and 8+ yardage plays, and they are running 11 personnel. And one of the reasons they were doing that was to get Kupp on the field. And they started to realize this formation and all the plays kind of kicks ass, pretty much unstoppable in practice. And they started building on the plays that I think they started with 6 or 8 plays. And now they're up. I don't know necessarily that they have 700 plays, but they have the 700 series and the 800 series. And it's just grown because it's been so successful. And it kind of reminded me I don't know if you've ever heard the story about Mike Martz. I don't know if this is an urban legend or not, but someone came up to him and said, "Man, I love your third down plays." And he got a twinkle in his eye, and maybe I should just pretend it's third down every play call.
He did act like that, didn't he?
Yeah, and it worked, and it was pretty interesting to hear Cooper Kupp explain how this all happened. Almost like Paul, you said it is almost like they stumbled upon it, and it works.
Yeah,
and think about it in practice. They had their, without even realizing it, they had their best players on the field, right, in that particular unit formation. And they realized, listen, this is the most, if you want to think about it intuitively for these players and for everything that we're trying to do, it comes naturally in this formation and in this setup, whatever it is, whatever personnel grouping that they had. And that's what Kupp was saying. He said in practice, and as a coach, to take that, and I'm sure the players were lobbying for that too. Like, they're like, we love this. Let's do this. And so I just think, his explanation from a player's perspective really gives you a window into like what a good coach has to be able to do. A good coach has to be able to integrate what the players love to do and what their personal philosophy is, and sort of mesh the two together. Yeah. And that, the way Kupp was describing it, it was like poetry in motion when they were there in practice. And McVay said, let's make it happen, right? And it did feed into a lot of what he wanted to do in any case. And we're seeing it now. The 11 is I think the Rams are, I think they lead the league in that formation and running. And the way they do it is it's just a work of art when you watch it, and there's so many nuances to it. We talked about it in the last segment, Mark, you and I, right? I mean, you could do like 10 podcasts on it. So it's just, I just thought it was great to hear it come from King Kupp.
Yeah, it was. And guys, Sean had his time with Washington calling plays and on that staff. He was known for being tight end centric, too tight end centric. So if you remember those early days of Rams football, in 2017, there was more use of the two tight end set. But because Kupp was just so special, it was like, all right, how do we get this guy on the field? Because Kupp had said, hey, he was only getting playing time, at least in practice up until that point of like, hey, second and long, third down for sure, right? And then it was like, hey, this offense is actually, or this 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back, is just the most effective. And, Sean leaned into his players, which you want any coach to do, no matter what side of the ball that you're coaching or special teams. What does your group of guys do best, and how can that be cultivated and used to win games? And it was obviously get Kupp on the dang field. No more, second and long only, third down. No. He needs to be on the field all the damn time. And it's glad that he realized that. It's good that Kupp had earned that trust and earned that responsibility, right? And golly, I love that 11 personnel, but I would like to see some more 12 now that Colby is in the lineup, maybe whenever Higbee comes back. And obviously I do like what Davis Allen did. So yes, thank you, Sean. Thank you, Sean, for all the years of 11, and we will continue to run tons of 11. That will not change. But I would like to see you go back to your Washington roots, and we'll get a little more 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, 1 running back. I would like to see that return. But Sean McVay, what more can we say? Thank you for being our coach.
We're pumping up a couple other podcasts, Cooper Kupps and DeMarco Farr's, but it's good stuff. And Paul, you said everybody was thrilled. I'm guessing Gerald Everett wasn't. If I'm getting my
Gerald, I was just about to say Gerald Everett, Cooper Kupp.
Right. And Gerald Everett was pretty talented. He really was.
They were hoping that he was going to be that tight end that was going to be like Jimmy Graham-esque for the Rams. Right?
He had the potential.
Those concentration laps, it just killed him.
It's just Kupp. It's just Kupp. Obviously, he snagged his way into more targets. I mean, it's like, how could you not throw to Cooper Kupp in the slot over a tight end? I mean, it was just, I get it.
And when you have the luxury of when you have the luxury of Gurley back there too, you don't have to worry about getting that extra blocker there. He is on his own. He's a bulldozer on his own.
Yeah, it's the tight end. The tight end spot's hard to get the ball in this offense, but hopefully we see a little more increase.
Yeah.
Like I said, and we all hope, I'm sure, right? Run the ball, 12 personnel. Let's keep teams on edge.
Throw it downfield. Those tight ends on those dig routes, 15 yards downfield.
Yep. Oh,
it's
yeah.
damage.
I think so.
Well, we got to close out this episode on a sad note. You all probably heard about Kyrie Jackson, the Minnesota Vikings draft pick out of Oregon. Previously played at Alabama, and probably the climax of his life, getting drafted into the NFL, and then killed in a car accident the other night with two other former teammates of his in high school. Paul, we talked about him in our mock drafts, right? And we liked him, and it's just such a bummer he's not going to get his chance.
Yeah. So, we had all talked, the Rams Up family, like, to how we would close out this round table and, and appropriately pay homage to this young man that, I have to share that his post-draft interview after he got drafted was just like, it was so great to watch. It was like watching a little kid. And what we decided to do is we took about a minute and 10 seconds of that post-draft interview. We're gonna, out of respect for him, and just wanted to we prepared just a little snippet of, unfortunately it happened July 6th. Kyrie Jackson and two of his close friends, Anthony Litton Jr., Isaiah Hazel, they were tragically killed in a car accident in Maryland. The three were very close friends. They attended Wise High School in Upper Marlboro, where they won a state championship together. What was interesting about him is that when he went after high school, he went to JUCO, Western Arizona, and he got homesick. And he said in his pre-draft interview, he was telling his story. His story was amazing. And he's saying it with this young kid with a smile on his face. And he's saying he got homesick and he wanted to go home. And he went home and he worked in a grocery store. And he's saying this in pre-draft interview. He's telling everybody he was really proud of the fact that he was Employee of the Month, right? And he talked about a competitive fire. He didn't just sit on his hands. So he was Employee of the Month. He was working at getting really, really accomplished at NBA 2K. He wanted to be a professional gamer. And he had reached the point where he was going to go and see if he could get drafted to become this professional gamer for NBA 2K. But he eventually returned to football, went to a junior college in Kansas. He earned a spot with Alabama, Crimson Tide. Played there 21-22 seasons, eventually transferred to Oregon for the 23 season, and he earned the honor of first-team All-Pac-12 quarterback. So he realized his dream of playing in the NFL. He was drafted in this year's draft by the Minnesota Vikings, round 4 at pick 108. It's no surprise that Kyrie was spending time with his family and friends in Maryland after the completion of the Minnesota OTA workouts. So we just wanted to say on behalf of our entire Rams Up family, we extend our deepest condolences to the families of Kyrie Jackson, Anthony Litton Jr., Isaiah Hazel. There are no words that can ease the loss and sadness that their families must be experiencing. So we would like to close our roundtable tonight in honor their collective memories by sharing a short clip of Kyrie's post-draft interview, in which his smile and playful demeanor will serve as a gentle reminder to all of us on the importance of love, friendship, and family.
Kyrie, where did you spend the draft weekend, and how closely were you paying attention to the pick by pick?
Yeah, so I'm in Maryland right now. I'm with my family. I'm at my dad's house right now. Honestly, I wasn't even at home when I just got the call. I was at the mall. Today was like a day I was just trying to chill and like kind of do my own thing. Cause like yesterday it was kind of stressful a little bit for me. So today I thought like my name was going to get called a little later in the day. I didn't know it was going to be 4th, 5th round, but I thought it was just going to be, not in the first 30 minutes of the draft. I didn't think that. So I was in the store and I missed the first call, and then then my phone rang again. I picked it up, and it was the Vikings, and then I told the lady in the store, I'm like, well, I gotta go, and I ran out of the store, and I called my parents. I think they was on like pick 105 or 106 at the time. And I called my mom, and I told her, you might want to turn on the TV. And then I just hurry up and hung up the phone, and then I called my dad. He was right next to her, though, anyway. I don't know why I should have just told them both at the same time. But then I called my dad, told him the same thing. And then, it was crazy. Then I ended up coming back to the house, and then all my family was here.